Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Progressive Democrats of Howard County podcast. This is episode 11. Good to see everybody again. Hello to my co-host, Hiruy. How you doing today, Hiruy?
Hey, Jake. Doing well. How about you?
I'm doing well, thanks. I'm ready to knock out part 2 of our series here that we began last week, and that is a series of candidate interviews for HoCo4Us Slate candidates, which both you and I are a part of. And this is HoCo4Us is a slate for Democratic Central Committee in Howard County. Try to take back the Central Committee, put it in the hands of the grassroots, in the hands of the people and the voters. We've all taken the No Developer Donation campaign pledge, and we are taking turns interviewing. There's 17 of us candidates on the slate, so we're going around interviewing each one. So today, Hiruy and I are joined by 2 new great slate members, Liset Rajaratnam and Kiana Fok. And in case you missed episode 10, part 1 and 2, we interviewed slate members Drew Roth and Tanika Richardson.
Hey, Jake, if I may, just to point out that, I think the last 2 were the last 2 interviews. I thought they were really great. They showcased, the caliber of the candidates on the HoCo4Us slate. And just as an intro for this next candidate, when you showed the pin, it reminded me that she's the one who made the HoCo4Us pin for the slate. And so that's just as a major introduction, wanted to mention that. And so that's Liset.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. We are very grassroots, so we had these grassroots pins that Liset was nice enough to make. And speaking of HoCo4Us Slate material, happy to announce we just got our mailers printed. We are all No Developer Donation campaign pledge signers. This lit was paid for by grassroots donations from the people. So very happy to have these. We were using these on the doors earlier. And yes, without any further ado, we can get to our first interview here with Slate member Liset Rajaratnam. How you doing today, Liset?
Hey, Jake. Very good. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for running on the slate with us. So I guess before we get into anything, would you like to just sort of introduce yourself to the viewing audience, tell them a little bit about, your background and why you're running?
Yeah. So I was born in Cuba. Then from Cuba, I went to Nicaragua because that's the way that Cuba had to, they start exporting doctors, engineers, and all that. So then in Nicaragua, I met the father of my 3 wonderful daughters. We got married, and then in the year of 2000, we came here to US because, he was American citizen already. And then since the year of 2000, I have lived in 3 different states. So in total, I have lived in Nicaragua, Cuba, United States, and I have lived in California, Oklahoma, and now in Maryland. So I have moved a lot, and that taught me a lot. But basically, because I'm running, because everywhere I'm going to be, no matter what, I am in Nicaragua or in Mexico or in Los Angeles, I'm going to be fighting for the people who has no voice, for the people who cannot be represented. And that's, I'm talking about my Latino community, but not only to my Latino community. I'm talking about immigrants, refugees. I'm talking about documented, undocumented. So grassroots, yes, I am a grassroots leader. I am a grassroots activist. And that's all I have been doing for all these years. And I learned that because I was born in the middle of Castro's revolution. So yes, I know what it is. I know the struggle.
So, Lizette, there's no doubt that you're driven by the need to speak for the vulnerable. I watched that video, the interaction that you had with the agitators. I call them the paid agitators at the high school at Oakland Mills High School, and I could see that it was you were pretty passionate and very outraged by what was going on. Can you and please feel free to talk about that too, but also since you mentioned the Latino community in Howard County, can you talk a little bit about also how the vulnerable, whether it's undocumented or not, how are they faring in Howard County?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, here the documented and undocumented, everyone work. We pay taxes and we contribute to our community. And according to Maryland State Comptroller Peter Franchot, over 86,000 ITIN, individual tax identification number filers, largely undocumented immigrant in Maryland, paid over 100 million in state and local taxes just in 2019. So yes, I feel the fear that they have, and I think that is not fair. I'm paying taxes, I'm working like a dog, I'm cleaning your trash, I'm fixing your roof, I'm taking care of your children, I'm taking care of your elderly, and then you're going to treat me like a second citizen? Why? Just because I'm brown? No. So I'm not going to define my wherever I was born or my accent or whatever. I'm not going to live by that, because guess what? I am your uncolonized Latina. So I'm not going to have the attitude, oh yeah, just because you are the one in power, because you are the one with money, No, I have a voice, I have a power, and I want to have all the people behind me to have the same power and the same voice. That's why I always thought that the Democratic Party was the one for me. So and then forgot. Oh, so when I was driving around the school, then I see all these people showing all these graphic images, and I was so enraged and so upset. Like, why my students coming in their buses like at 7 a.m. in the morning, just looking to have a nice, peaceful beginning of the day, they have to be exposed to all those gore and graphic and horrible pictures. Why? What is the point of it? So yes, I went to park. Well, I was as soon as I was reaching on the side of the road, I lowered my window and I started shouting at them. Okay. And then there was the AP principal told me, oh, Lise, no, just calm down. It's not worth it. Ta, 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 ta. I go like, what do you mean it's not worth it? They are shouting. I'm going to shout at them back, because you need to fight fire with fire. These people don't understand, So then I went to park, came back with my phone, and then confronted them. Because if they think that they are going to be doing that in every school and they are not going to be confronted, they are wrong. Okay. They are bullies. Okay, you want a bully response? I'm going to give you a bully response. So yeah, I was there, and that's all. It's not a heroic act. I just feel the need to protect any student and every student. like if they were my children. That's all.
Yeah, you certainly look. They looked very uncomfortable with when you were talking to them. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think that was good. I had one more related to you know how you know undocumented or documented, you know, that they're you know potentially you know could be treated as a second class you know citizens. Um, if you may recall, a couple of years ago, the county executive had a chance to cancel the ICE contract, and he declined. And one of the things that the activists who were engaged in that did was approach the central committee. And what my understanding of how that you know what happened there was the central committee at that time did not do anything, did not say anything. If you were in the central committee, if you had been in the central committee when someone reached, you know, from the local activist community reached out and said, "We need your help," and the you know and the response from some of the other members was to decline to help, what would have been your reaction? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, I know. I supported him. I went all over the place participating in so many things that, just to promote him, just to get the Latino vote. And when that came up, I was like, really, man? What's wrong with you? What? He really, I mean, I was so disappointed, and I was so like, and then all my people, all the people that are in my groups, all my Latino groups, they were like, are you seeing this new? What's going on with this guy? So I was totally devastated when I saw that he didn't do anything at all and he didn't care, and he was just with us, just, I don't know if he was trying to get Latino votes or whatever, which he got the Latino vote, by the way. So yeah, my response would have been, okay, you are part of the, I'm part of the central committee. I respond to you, but I'm going to question you as well, okay? Why you didn't do this for my people? Why you didn't do this for my community? What's the difference? What's stopping you? Especially when there is something so wrong with ICE. Right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I certainly wish you were on the central committee when that, and I wish a lot of us were on the central committee when that all was going down. But real quick, I think this is the last question because we are trying to keep these interviews shorter. Lisette, I know that you are at least part-time special education teacher. Sorry if I'm not using the proper career title there, but special education educator in Howard County. So do you think that special education teachers are getting the proper assistance from the county and staff support, or do you think there are things that the county could be doing better?
Oh, that's one of the things that I went the other day to the Board of Education to advocate for, the minorities, which are immigrants, Latinos, special ed. And let me tell you, I work with the Department of Special Ed that we are overworked, underpaid, but because we care about those kids, I really care much about my special students, and I do extra mile for my special student. I pay out of my pocket whatever I have to pay, just because I want to challenge and I want to have my class to be the best and I want my student to be the best. And yes, the county is not even close enough to whatever accommodations we need, not for the student, not for the support staff, not for the teachers, not for the paraeducators, not for the student assistant. Oh yeah, they are way back. Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, and
We don't have the support. Yes, totally.
yeah, and it's a shame in one of the, wealthiest counties in the country that we don't have, or really we do have the resources to fully fund and give those teachers the proper accommodations, in my opinion. But we just as a county have not prioritized it because we've had moneyed interests and developers reordering the priorities so that actual necessities like that go neglected. But thank you for what you do every day in that role and all you do in the community. And so with that being said, that was Liset Rajaratnam. Please check her and the HoCo4Us Slate out, HoCo4Us.com. And with that, we're now going to transition to part 2 of episode 11 of the Progressive Democrats of Howard County podcast here. And that is by now talking to another fellow HoCo4Us Slate member, Kiana Fok. So thank you again to Liset, and we're super excited to be talking to Kiana here. I'm gonna give her a second to turn her camera on.
Hello.
But yes, hello, Kiana. You want to take a chance to introduce yourself to the viewers and tell them a little bit about who you are and why you're running?
Sure. I'm Kiana Fok. I've been a longtime Howard County community member, and I guess I describe very active in the community since 2018. Worked with various grassroots organizations, and why I'm running is, well, I guess to be a part of making my community better after noticing all the lack of financial access, say, to food, housing, especially right now from the pandemic to the inflation, and as well. And part of that is getting to the root of what's going on and making the changes needed to well, actually help various community members. Also, I'll admit, I don't usually mention this just because it doesn't come to mind, but I'm also, being an autistic person, I feel that it'd be good representation to show where people like me can go, especially in positions of power, a voice for the community, especially when you have a party that definitely prides or gives the message about being diverse. So, and
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah, certainly, Kiana. I think your motivations are laudable. Can you talk about, because through our conversations, you've described working about working at Amazon, for example, and the challenges there, and how there people who how people who live perhaps in Howard County may be facing some of those challenges too.
Yeah, so with Amazon, at least the one I worked at, there didn't seem to be any noticeable because it was a distribution center. Otherwise, distribution center compared to a fulfillment center. However, there were definitely subtle things I've noticed, such as instead of paying people a higher wage, I mean, 15, it barely gets you by these days. They instead do these raffle prizes. So Amazon has the money to give people various prizes, from toothbrushes to any game station, but they're not willing to pay their employees enough. And another thing they also do these flex ups where as a way to avoid paying overtime, or like pay just to get around having to pay the complete overtime. So it can range from 15 to about at least an hour, or to the max about an hour, as far from based on what I saw. So it's like if you get like an hour, it's like you get paid just for that extra hour.
Yeah,
So
sorry.
So just it barely gets you by, especially if you're living in a county that is overall pretty expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, you just left Amazon recently, and not too long before you started working there, I was working in an Amazon warehouse for a while, and that's something that we have in common. And even just the COVID condition. I don't know about your warehouse, but at my warehouse, the COVID conditions were absolutely horrendous.
Oh.
We were getting notifications of people
Yes.
Yes.
I
And
got the same thing. It's like the Amazon app would say, we just got notified that someone between this day and that day of this last or this week got COVID. We are doing everything of quarantine about 2 per week, maybe. I can't quite remember right now, but it was free. It's like we know it's noticeable. We had enough texts to know that they weren't really.
Yeah, they didn't want to sacrifice profits, and so they were putting people's lives in jeopardy. But another thing that you and I have in common is that we both live in Howard County, running HoCo4Us Slate, but we've actually met each other in college on the Eastern Shore at Salisbury University. And all these years that I've known you, Kiana, you've always been one of the most engaged, knowledgeable people, out of a lot of politically active people that I know. So I'm just curious, because let's be honest, there's not enough people like you and me involved in this stuff. I mean, young people, involved, politically active. So what was it that got you engaged at a young age, and why do you think it's important that young people, are on the central committee and represented in politics?
Yeah. My very start was first 2016, but even before 2016, I became aware when I was taking a social problems course in Howard Community College, and one topic that really got to me was money in politics. So my first grassroots organization I joined was Represent Us. Well, at the time they were called Represent Us Maryland, in Baltimore, and I did some, well, whenever I could, participated in like getting people to sign on to get the bill passed at the local level. But then when I went to college, it dropped because I wasn't, I was out of town. So then I met Jake, and I got a lot more engaged, got connected with our Revolution Howard County, joined them, and from there I met up with various other groups through our revolution.
Kiana, so here's the thing. When I was your age and Jake's age, I was not involved in politics and in general, and local activism as well. So if I was doing that, at that age, I think I would have been I wish I was. Suffice to say, so kudos to both of you for I think continuing to pay attention to what's going on at a local level, where there isn't that much information out there. There isn't because like on the national level, you can like just open up Twitter and you'll find some just at least on super
or just mainstream media. They mostly just talk about things at the state level and the federal and the national level, so it's understandable how you don't really hear much at the local level. I mean, Howard County, I barely, like, unless you're subscribed to like the Baltimore Sun, you don't really get much information about, well, you don't hear, it's like just the Baltimore Sun.
Even
Really
the Sun is
talks,
pretty sparse of how.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like if you're lucky to hear anything about Howard County, it's mostly Baltimore. And so it's definitely a transition, more awareness of the importance of participating at the at your local level, because you definitely have a lot more control. And the challenging part, especially with everything going on, is that it would need to be like everywhere from all the states doing at the local level. And some, I cannot imagine how difficult it'd be, as well as the fact that there are states that are just not as populated. It's very rural too, so there's that factor. But if you're
I think you gave, that was the key word, is you have control, and you have direct control on what happens at a local level. And it's, I really appreciate your passion there, and continuing to be engaged. If I correct me if I'm wrong, but were you I recall there was a vacancy at the Central Committee a few months ago.
Oh yeah.
And you had applied to fill that vacancy. Can you talk about a little bit about that experience when you applied?
Yeah, it was. See, when I applied, it was for a woman representative, and I was asked various questions of like, do you support all Democrats? Do you support these positions, like the cultural issues? And I definitely don't recall if there were much economic, like what are you gonna do with about the home, helping the homeless, or reducing housing costs, or stopping all the diverting all the military budget. So yeah, it was. And well, when I ended up not getting the position, there was of course someone else that probably satisfied most of the quota and or had connections, but it was just a round of different like one member from the Central Committee and asking a question. So
that's I find that very the description of your interview, I find it very surprising, in that there were a lot of questions on the cultural aspects, but you couldn't, there weren't any questions on the economic aspect. And that, I think, is probably one of the biggest issues that HoCo4Us, the HoCo4Us Slate wants to address, is make sure that because the establishment, I think, ends up using these cultural issues to rile people up, while not doing anything about the economics aspect.
Also, the worst part, the cultural issues may not seem so bad, and these are important, like Roe v. Wade, protecting LGBT, but that's the thing is, they just use it as a platform and don't really do anything about it. Roe v. Wade could have been codified a long time ago when Democrats had power, for example.
Absolutely. And the other thing that was very frustrating, I remember when you applied for that, and that was right around like the Stop Asian Hate stuff. And you have the Democratic Party who claims that they care about young people, they want to have people with disabilities represented, they want to have women represented, we care about the Asian community. And then also, even if they did only touch on the cultural issues, I know that you're a strong progressive on the cultural issues. I know that you're very pro-choice. I know that you do stand against LGBT hate. And so I'm absolutely positive that you gave great answers to all of their questions. And yet and even with all those other, identity groups that are underrepresented that you fall under, still they overlooked you. They didn't pick you. And I think it is because you also have strong stances on those other economic issues, on anti-imperialism.
Though there wasn't really, all I did was put my name in, why you're running, and there was nothing when I mentioned issues. I'm trying to remember because it's been a while ago, but I don't really recall if I put anything particularly economic exactly, or if they even asked about it. So
I'm sure that they know that you are affiliated with Our Revolution and believe in a Bernie Sanders policy agenda. And, that's not always the most popular thing in elite Democratic Party circles. So, Kiana, thank you for speaking to us, for speaking to the audience, sharing a little bit about, who you are, why you're running, what's important to you. Thank you, Liset, as well. Hiruy or Kiana, I don't know if either of you have any last second thoughts.
Nothing in particular.
Hiruy?
Well, thanks, Kiana. I really enjoyed talking to you and learning more about you. And I am very positive that, I think, once voters are able to see and listen to and watch these videos, that they will realize and they will understand that there is one slate that is focused on addressing the issues on a concrete level. And speaking of which, one of the we just we became aware of this today or yesterday, was that after our slate was announced, and we after our slate was announced with our platform, with our local and party platform, the Central Committee unveiled a new website. And the new website has a lot of information, and that it did not before. And one of them was a county platform. And so we are it's suffice to say that we're making a huge difference already in pushing the existing Central Committee to take some small steps toward communicating its democratic values. It's not there yet, and I think our slate will address that.
All right, that's good. Out of curiosity too, because I believe I mentioned it to you, Jake, but did you happen to see because I remember a while back I went on the Democratic Central Committee site, and when I went to their about page, they says something about we are to support all Democrats. Did you happen to see that? Like if you went to their about section of their homepage?
It's probably still there, just because that is kind of part of the job of the Democratic Central Committee, though I would say they do not practice what they preach, because several of them are working the primary. Council member Liz Walsh and Deb Young both are two strong Democrats. Well, thank you again. Here, great point from here. We're already HoCo4Us Slate, and the threat of our slate is already forcing the current Central Committee to actually do their jobs and do what they should have been doing the last 4 years. So let's actually get us elected. Thank you, Kiana. Thank you, Liset. Check out our platform, HoCo4Us.com, the number 4, HoCo4Us.com. Consider donating. And also HoCoProgressives.com. This is Progressive Democrats of Howard County, episode 11. Signing off. See everybody next time.